In the countryside where I live, wild boars aren't just wild animals, they're a terrifying nightmare. During the last harvest season, not only my family but the entire village had to watch as the fields were torn apart by their hooves. The damage was devastating. All our sweat and hard work went to waste, making our already tough lives even harder. We couldn't endure it any longer. I, along with my friends, decided to hunt the wild boars, hoping to drive them away from our fields. Let's begin the hunt together. We followed the mountain trail, heading toward the hills near the residential area. As soon as we arrived, the pack of elite hunting dogs couldn't hide their excitement and rushed off to search. Not long after, barking echoed the first target had appeared. It was fleeing at breakneck speed. But how could it possibly win? In just a brief moment, I fired a single shot that completely brought the wild boar down. Look at that, it's no small boar. With a body like that, it must weigh dozens of kilograms. Right after that, I hurriedly chased a wild boar along the path. Seizing the best possible opportunities, I tried to fire several shots. It wasn't until the boar attempted to cross the road that I was able to make an accurate shot. The sound of hunting dogs echoed from the other side of the mountain slope. The herd of boars suddenly panicked, scattering in all directions. My teammate and I stayed hidden, ready for the next shot. One appeared, large and fierce. The first shot didn't bring it down, but we didn't give up. We kept chasing it across slopes and through thick bushes. Finally, I found the perfect position, and the moment it entered my sights, another trophy added to today's hunt. Oh, a giant wild boar has noticed our presence. It's about to run away. You know, I definitely won't let that happen. And then, a deadly shot was made. The target was taken down in a split second. Gunshots echoed from a far side that wild boars had appeared and were being pursued by other hunters. Once I spotted the tracks, I immediately gave chase. The herd was running incredibly fast. Even though I tried to aim and shoot, bringing them down wasn't easy. The chase went on, and I had to keep running after the wild boars. After a long and exhausting pursuit, I finally caught up and fired. But I only managed to take down one. The rest escaped out of sight just in time. From the rugged mountains, wild boars often make their way down to the fields in search of easier food. They don't just forage, they turn the rice paddies into ideal hiding places. But for farmers, this is a never-ending battle. These boars have grown increasingly aggressive, showing no hesitation in attacking livestock and even people. Understanding the severity of the situation, we're always ready to fight, day or night. At this point, hunting seems to be the most effective solution. Even though it was already late in the day, I still wanted to hunt a few more wild boars. Over on a distant mountainside, one suddenly dashed past. I quickly raised my rifle and pulled the trigger repeatedly. After that burst of gunfire, my teammates and I had successfully taken down one more target. After a long day of chasing, ambushing, and fighting, we brought back many valuable trophies. But more importantly, we know that the battle against wild boars is far from over. We don't wish for this conflict to go on forever, because our ultimate goal is to live in peace without clashes between humans and these wild animals. Thank you for following today's journey. We hope this video brought you some relaxing and enjoyable moments. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. If you think feral pigs are just a problem for the states if you're in the south like Texas or Florida, look to the northwest of the United States, where Idaho's wilderness is struggling to fight off a fearsome invader, feral hogs. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, a herd of pigs can destroy more than 20 acres of farmland overnight, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars in crop damage each season. But the physical damage is nothing compared to the real danger when you encounter them in the dark. Our trip this time started with a warning from a local, and that night we were truly surrounded. In the quiet of the night, despite limited visibility, thanks to the thermal scope, the target was clearly visible. I followed closely, then chose a perfect ambush position and was ready to fire. Just a moment later, gunshots rang out, tearing through the night. The wild boar fell immediately, quickly, decisively. A worthy end for the one who had destroyed the crops and lives of the people here. In extreme excitement, we continued to shoot at other wild boars. I always tried to aim straight at the head or lungs, where I could take down the target most quickly.
Hey.
The herd of wild boars here was really large. In the darkness, through the thermal scope, I could see dozens of dark figures moving silently among the bushes. But we had prepared in advance. One shot, one kill, that was the rule. And to get such shooting technique, we had to go through hundreds of hours of non-stop field training. But our goal did not stop there. Determined to hunt even bigger wild boars, the group continued to look far away, straining their eyes to search for even the smallest movement in the darkness. And then it appeared. A large wild boar, walking slowly with a high alert look. But we were ready. From the ambush position, I kept calm, waiting for it to get within the ideal distance. That was when a single bullet hit it straight in the head. The boar stopped and collapsed on the spot, making the group unable to hide their excitement. So we kept trying, taking down a few more targets one by one, accurately and neatly. At this time, the wild boars seemed to have sensed the approaching danger. They began to panic and run away. However, thanks to the thermal scope, I could clearly observe even the smallest movements. In the view through the thermal scope, I discovered a giant wild boar slowly moving ahead. I quietly approached, trying to get as close as possible to ensure an accurate shot. However, there were quite a few targets who escaped. Not letting the wild boars escape, we immediately divided into groups and quickly chased in the direction the herd had just fled. As soon as we reached the ideal ambush position, I immediately opened fire and took down the first wild boar. After that, I continued to adjust the gun and shoot the others. The herd of wild boars panicked and ran away, hiding under the green trees and disappearing behind the hill. We were still determined to pursue the wild boars to the end. The whole group carefully observed, not giving any wild boar a chance to escape. Gunshots rang out continuously. Therefore, every few minutes, gunshots rang out, signaling that more wild boars had been taken down. The night was late, but we still did not rest. At this time, giant black shadows were leisurely foraging in the fields, unaware that death was near. I held my breath, aimed carefully, then pulled the trigger. When I had aimed at the target, I quickly fired. The loud sound made the pigs panic and run away. However, our group of hunters did not let them escape. All carefully adjusted their guns, trying to take down the entire herd of pigs. Deep in the heart of the American South, the state of Oklahoma is under relentless attack, not by an army, but by a creature many once thought harmless, wild feral hogs. An estimated 1.5 million feral hogs roam Oklahoma's fields, forests, and farms. Each year, they cause over $60 million in damages, destroying crops, tearing up irrigation systems, wrecking infrastructure, and even endangering the safety of local residents. So today, we came prepared with helicopters and high-powered weaponry, ready for a high-speed chase against the beasts that have been terrorizing the countryside. As the sun rose, our chopper lifted off. Below us, in the thin woods and torn-up cornfields, a herd of hogs was already on the move, tearing through the land like a living storm. We moved in fast, but don't be fooled, these hogs are not easy to catch. Every shot needs to be pinpoint accurate. A single misfire, and they'll vanish into the brush in seconds. Amid the roar of the rotors, I kept firing, aiming at the massive hogs sprinting below us across the churned-up fields. With aerial vision, Charlotte was landing her shots with deadly precision, each hog dropping in a cloud of dirt and dust. The helicopter circled the field, its engine screaming through the open sky. These hogs usually hide in thick brush or tall grass, but from the sky, they have nowhere to hide. One clean shot, and they're down on the spot. Suddenly, a large group burst out from ahead. The first shot dropped one instantly. The rest scattered in all directions, a textbook hog reaction, but it was too late. Every escape route had already been locked in. One by one, they were taken down by precision fire from above. In this chase, our instinct was no match for aerial speed and firepower. As we moved on to the next group, I kept firing but missed. That's when I realized shooting from the air is a completely different game than hunting on the ground. It's exhilarating. After missing multiple targets, I began to adapt. Watching how my teammate handled his weapon, I mimicked his hand movements, adjusted my aim based on the herd's direction. I wasn't perfect, but I could feel myself improving. And I knew right then this kind of skill comes from rigorous training and experience. From above, we spotted movement in a thick patch of brush. We hovered, watching. The land here is dry and rugged. Maybe that's why the hogs in this region aren't particularly large. But don't be fooled. Even at just a few dozen kilos, they're more than capable of ripping through farmland and devastating crops. They adapt fast, and that's what makes them so dangerous. There are so many hogs here. The ones we've taken down today are just a small fraction of the whole. That's why our team remains determined not to let any get away. The herd scattered, trying to flee, but it was no use. We stayed on them, hunting them down one by one. Our hunt stretched into the late afternoon. But as you can imagine, wild hogs continue to breed and hide, forcing helicopter hunting teams to fly missions every single week. This battle, no matter how thrilling, is far from over. Oklahoma, along with many other states, is still calling for more resources, tougher laws, and stronger community involvement to stop this invasive menace. Wild boars, the name might sound familiar, but the destruction they leave behind is anything but ordinary. Wherever they go, trees are flattened, water sources ruined, crops devastated, and hundreds of hectares torn apart like a war zone. Even smaller animals aren't spared. Some of the toughest farmers have had to surrender to their onslaught. Various methods have been deployed to combat this crisis, but in our experience, nothing works better than hunting. At the break of dawn, we arrived at the forest, bringing along a pack of elite hunting dogs. Our team spread out quietly, taking control of key vantage points. The dogs started sniffing out every corner. Tension hung in the air like a drawn bowstring. While the dogs scoured the area, I observed silently. After a long wait, we finally spotted signs of wild boar movement. We picked up the pace, chasing through rows of trees. The moment a target entered our sights, it was taken down with a clean, decisive shot. Some were quite far away, but I still took the shot, sending the herd fleeing in panic. After a long chase, I finally saw my chance. As shadows darted past my vision, I didn't give them a second to react. I pulled the trigger instantly. The reward was worth it. Several targets were taken down, though quite a few managed to escape, making the hunt even more intense. Without wasting time, we continued the pursuit. The dogs kept tracking relentlessly, leaving the boar boars with nowhere to hide, giving me even more opportunities to strike. After those successful hits, we expanded our search to nearby areas. New chances kept appearing. Massive wild boars started revealing themselves. Their sheer size would excite even the most seasoned hunters. Then came the thunder of gunfire, and just like that, they were down. We moved on to another area. Deep in the woods, I set up an ambush and waited patiently for a target. There it was. I raised my rifle and aimed. The moment the boar crossed my line of sight, a single, sharp shot rang out. With minimal effort, the boar dropped clean and easy. The next ambushes were just as effective. But things don't always go smoothly. A few cunning boars managed to escape into the thick bushes. I lost track of them for a while, but eventually I caught up. Just one shot. That's all I had. As the boar stepped into my scope, I squeezed the trigger. In a split second, it was down, right in the heart of the forest. We returned to the scene, driven by the memory of those ravaged fields. It reignited our determination. The team pushed forward, tracking, ambushing, and dropping more targets. Every gunshot meant one less threat to the land. One more victory for the farmers. Later, we headed to another hill known to be one of their favorite hiding spots. To our surprise, other hunters had already taken down boars in the same area. With teamwork and relentless drive, we wrapped up this challenge with truly impressive results. Locals are no strangers to growls in the brush, cornfields torn apart like a storm had just passed through, or calves lying motionless after a quiet night. These animals breed rapidly, wreak havoc, and face virtually no natural predators. That's why hunting them isn't just a pastime, it's a vital part of protecting rural life. Around 6:40 a.m., just as we arrived at our rendezvous point, I noticed slight movement in the brush roughly 70 meters ahead. Looking through the scope, a massive herd of wild boars came into view, leaving us all stunned. I held my position, letting them move closer. When they were just 40 meters away, I pulled the trigger. The first shot dropped the lead boar. The rest panicked and scattered, but I, along with the team, quickly picked off several more. It was a strong start to the day. After scouting the terrain and moving east, I received a signal from a buddy alerting me to major movement nearby. I calmed my breathing and took aim at the biggest male. One shot, and he went down immediately. The rest bolted in panic, straight into my buddy's line of fire. Within just 10 seconds, we had taken down several more. This was one of our most effective ambushes ever. To avoid detection, we relocated our ambush site. I hid behind a dense bush. A faint rustling noise reached my ears. I got into position quickly, reloaded, and prepared for action. The moment came. Gunfire rang out. One target down. Our haul was quickly piling up. With no time to plan, we flushed them out into an open field. The moment one came into my sights, I raised the rifle, adjusted the crosshairs, and fired. One shot, one kill. The surprise and the control I felt in that moment had my adrenaline pumping. Back in the woods, we resumed our search. An hour passed. It felt like the hunt might be over until a massive shadow darted past. Instinct kicked in. I raised my gun and fired, dropping the boar before it disappeared. As the day drew to a close, more wild boars began appearing. Ambushes were no longer an option, we had to give chase. I kept a steady pace, focused my aim, and took one down at 60 meters at the same time. A buddy of mine bagged another nearby. After a long, exhausting day, we had achieved something incredible. This hunt wasn't just a success. Last week, I had the chance to visit the Transdanubia region in western Hungary. At first, I just intended to take a light stroll, nothing too serious. But that morning, I happened to run into a few hunter friends who were gearing up for a wild boar hunt. And just like that, without hesitation, I rushed back to grab my rifle and backpacked along. The vast field by the edge of the forest, where wild boars often come to ravage the crops, was our playground for the day. The hunt began, and my heart was pounding with excitement beyond words. Going hunting with the locals means there's nothing to worry about. They know the forest like the back of their hand, every animal trail, and all the habits of the prey. The team stopped at a small trail cutting through the forest. I climbed up a tall hunting stand, eyes straining to scan every bare treetop ahead. Before long, wild boars appeared, so many it was impossible to count. The old hunters in the group fired in a flash, taking down 2 instantly. I quickly joined in and luckily managed to hit one from a herd. That was a great start. After that encounter, the hunter's blood in me boiled even more. And just then, another unlucky boar walked right into my sights. I fired immediately, no hesitation. But in the end, it still went down. The boar was hit and tumbled down the slope. From afar, shadows of wild boars started creeping forward. I tightened my grip on the rifle, ready to shoot. This time, I lay in wait by the roadside. A wild boar slowly wandered in from the other side. I fired with full determination. The boar collapsed by the roadside. Another trophy secured. To find more wild boars, I decided to follow the local hunters once again. For now, I had to deal with these wild boars first. Gunshots rang out, tearing through the forest silence. The very first shot hit the mark. There were more, so I quickly shifted targets. One after another, they went down, and I was thrilled. Felt like I had full control of the battlefield. The thrill lasted right until the final moments of the hunt. On the way out of the forest, I spotted a clearing covered in thick grass. These spots are wild boar mats. I figured I'd wait a few more minutes, might catch a few more. And just as I sensed, they appeared. The distance was a bit far, but I decided to take a shot anyway. Tightened my grip, aimed carefully, held my breath, and pulled the trigger. Perfect. One was down. Another startled and darted off, but that's fine. The day's haul had already exceeded expectations. Feral pigs, with a population of up to 6 million, have become a serious threat, spreading in at least 35 states in the United States, including Florida. Herds of feral pigs destroying natural ecosystems, plowing up the habitats of native animals, and reducing biodiversity. Not only that, they are also the source of many dangerous viruses and bacteria, spreading diseases such as hepatitis. pneumonia, and many other infectious diseases, posing a risk to the health of humans and livestock. Faced with this alarming situation, the people of Florida did not stand idly by. They implemented many drastic measures to control the number of wild pigs, of which hunting is an effective solution. Last week, I and a few friends decided to participate in a wild pig hunt. About 1 kilometer from where we live is a large hill where many types of plants and wild fruits are concentrated, an ideal food source for wild boars. This is the opportunity for us to carry out our hunting plan, both protecting the environment and controlling the number of these pests. As soon as we set foot on the hillside, we discovered the first targets. A herd of wild boars was wandering around looking for food. Excitement filled my heart. I quickly got into position, carefully preparing for the attack. When I had accurately aimed at the largest wild boar in the herd, I resolutely pulled the trigger. The gunshot rang out, and the first spoils were ours. My companions also quickly joined in. They spread out, closely coordinated, and followed the tracks of the escaping wild boars. The sound of gunfire echoed throughout the forest, mixed with the sound of hurried footsteps. Although we were not professional hunters, we tried our best and killed quite a few destructive wild boars. This was not just a hunt, but also a practical action to protect the area from the destruction of this animal. The battle became more intense than ever when the wild boars panicked and ran away. They rushed away, hiding under the dense canopy of trees, taking advantage of their familiarity with the terrain and their agile, cunning instincts to escape our pursuit. I held my gun firmly, my eyes fixed on the target. When a wild boar appeared in my sights, I immediately took action. Shots rang out, accurate and decisive. Several more wild boars were taken down, but I knew the battle was not over yet. The footsteps of my teammates echoed throughout the forest, mixed with the continuous sound of gunfire. We coordinated closely, not giving any of them a chance to escape. With each passing second, the tension reached its peak, but each small victory added more motivation to continue the fight. However, the sunset was fading, signaling that time was running out. We knew we had to return before the forest was completely covered in darkness. After collecting the spoils, the group decided to return, not to end it, but to prepare for a new challenge, night hunting. Night falls. The forest is immersed in silence. Equip yourself with a thermal scope, a tool to observe wild boars in the dark. Choose a discreet location, but large enough to cover the entire area. Time passes slowly, as if it has stopped. An hour passed intense silence. Suddenly, a movement from the edge of the forest caught the group's attention immediately. Through the thermal scope, we discovered a herd of wild boars leisurely foraging, unaware of the danger approaching. Without hesitation, we suddenly opened fire. The sound of gunfire tore through the night. The herd of wild boars panicked, but did not have time to react. They fell one by one under the precise, powerful bullets. When we thought the hunt was about to end, from the open space, new targets appeared. The wild boars were bigger and stronger, but they could not escape the sights. The whole group opened fire simultaneously, each bullet fired as if deciding fate. One shot, one kill. In the dim light of the night, I spotted a few wild boars trying to escape, but I would not allow that to happen. My hunting instincts rose. I was determined not to let it escape my sights. In the distance, another pair of wild boars were still chatting, seemingly unaware that their fellows had been exterminated. They were immersed in the sweetness of love, but I knew what would happen if this love affair ended well. A new generation of saboteurs would be born, causing more damage to this land. I couldn't let that happen. I adjusted the scope, aiming straight at the target. A perfect shot rang out, ending everything before it was too late. Silence fell over the forest again, signaling the end of the campaign. At the end of the trip, I felt proud and satisfied. We had contributed to protecting the crops, minimizing the damage caused by wild boars.
¿Ya cubierto?
Wait, finish. Awesome.
On the shoulder.
Awesome.
Jeszcze raz.
In the pale twilight of Larimer, Colorado, the wild beauty of nature hides hidden dangers. According to the Global Tiger Forum's 2023 report, there are only about 5,574 wild lions left in the world. The world's most powerful predators are facing a decline in their habitat and food sources, which is bringing them closer and closer to humans. And sometimes, these encounters turn tragic.
I know.
Yesterday, in a remote area of Larimer, Tom and his group of friends were preparing for a deer hunt. Suddenly, a scream tore through the peaceful atmosphere. A police team was patrolling the streets when a lioness charged at them. With incredible speed, it knocked the female police officer to the ground, its sharp claws just inches from her neck. Nearby residents immediately rushed over and tried to fight the animal with their bare hands. A police officer fired a gun into the air to threaten the animal. The loud gunshot startled the lion and it fled into the deep forest, leaving the police officer shaken, but fortunately not seriously injured. Stories of lion attacks are no longer uncommon in Larimer. Lately, a few lions have been seen more frequently, wandering through residential areas looking for food. But no one in the area is brave enough to face the ferocious beasts head-on. Tom, an experienced hunter, could not stand by and watch the danger continue. After gathering information from the locals about recent lion sightings, Tom decided to take action. Tom and his men prepared carefully. The shotguns were carefully checked. Every bullet was loaded. They set out early in the morning, following the footprints on the ground. The tracks led them into a dense area where the tall bushes hid any movement. Through his binoculars, Tom spotted a male lion standing tall in the distance. Its bright yellow eyes scanned the surrounding area, and its golden fur reflected the morning sun. At over 2.5 meters long and weighing around 190 kilograms, it is a formidable predator. The puny strength of humans is certainly no match for it. Tom signaled for the group to take cover. He raised his shotgun, adjusted the scope, and aimed. They are facing danger and need to seize the opportunity. Otherwise, they will be the next victims. At this moment, the lion was standing still and watching every movement. This was the chance. A shot rang out, and the lion fell after a precise shot to the heart. But Tom knew that this was only the beginning. Lions are pack animals, so other targets are sure to be lurking nearby. As the group continued to move deeper into the area, they discovered new traces. A growl came from the other side. Tom approached carefully. It's another lion. It's hiding behind the dry grass. He gently approached. Quickly get into position. But as he was about to pull the trigger, the lioness suddenly charged out. Too hasty. Tom's first shot missed, only grazing the lion's thick fur, and this successfully irritated it. Roaring loudly, its eyes flashed with anger. It charged towards the group at terrifying speed. Tom shouted, and shots rang out. One bullet hit the leg, the second hit the chest. The lion fell, but tried to get up. Before the situation could get any worse, Tom took a careful aim and fired one last shot, ending the tense confrontation. It was getting late. It was dangerous here at night because that was when many other predators started to come out to feed, and we had to return before dark.
Awesome.
Although the area was temporarily calmed, a strange feeling still lingered in the hearts of Tom and his teammates. They not only faced danger, but also realized the fragile relationship between humans and nature. Confrontations like these will continue as wildlife habitats continue to shrink.
Możesz go strzelić, jak będziesz miał dobrze.
Shoot again.
Jeszcze raz. Maybe. Raz, dwa.
Wait, finish.
Journey, but